So, if you have followed this show, you will know that we've talked about how week after week after week, Bernie Sanders has been proposing new, sweeping, game changing, life saving policies. And at this point, he's just showing off. I mean, this is remarkable. He came out with another new policy that would absolutely change people's lives for the better. This is something that doesn't ever get talked about enough, and the fact that Bernie Sanders is proposing policy to fix this problem shows that to even know that this was an issue, he's had to have been talking to people who have this issue. He's engaged with people who are suffering. He listens to them. So here's what he came up with recently. As Annie Nova of CNBC writes, independent candidate Bernie Sanders wants to eliminate the private credit reporting agencies and substitute them with the government-managed credit registry. The proposal was released over the weekend, and at the same time, Sanders announced his plan to erase $81 billion in past due medical debt, one of the main issues dogging Americans' credit reports today. Senator Sanders says the public credit registry would be housed in the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, the agency created in 2011 to protect Americans from predatory lenders in the wake of the financial crisis. According to Sanders' campaign, the new system would use a transparent algorithm to determine credit worthiness that eliminates racial biases in credit scores and allows Americans to access their credit scores for free. Medical debts would be excluded from people's reports. There are three major private credit reporting companies: Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. These companies collect data on people's borrowing patterns, including their payment histories and any potential bankruptcies or tax liens. Critics of the current system point to how Equifax's insufficient data security practices allowed it to suffer a massive hack in 2017 that led to more than 140 million Americans having their personal information exposed, and to studies that show people's credit reports, which can determine if they're hired for a job or how much they'll pay for a car, are riddled with errors. Credit reporting companies don't have a financial incentive to improve accuracy, said Amy Traub, Associate Director of Policy and Research at the liberal-leaning policy group Demos, which has advocated for a public credit registry. Sanders' version, she said, would serve consumers as its central mission and would have a mandate to invest in accurate data. Now, this is incredibly powerful, especially because these private credit reporting agencies, they have a systemic bias against black and brown people. So what Bernie Sanders is trying to do here is eliminate that, even the playing field once and for all. And on top of that, if you have medical debt, something that you are not in control of, well, he's going to make it so that way that no longer affects your credit score because he is wiping out all medical debt. This truly is remarkable, but let me read to you exactly how this affects black and brown communities. Our current credit reporting system also intensifies racial inequality, Traub said. For example, credit reports track the time it takes a borrower to repay a loan, but Traub said how long it takes to pay back a loan is based to a large extent on access to family wealth, which is a result of generations of discrimination in employment, lending, education, and housing that produced a huge racial wealth gap. The median family wealth for white people is $171,000 compared to $17,600 for black people. Credit reporting on a public registry could reduce racial biases by drawing on new data sources, such as income, and excluding others like late payments on predatory loans, which are disproportionately relied upon by people of color, Traub said. Traub estimates that it could take 7 years to transition from a private credit score reporting system to a public one, but that the effort would be well worth it. So to say that this would impact people's lives positively is an understatement, because people who were shut out of certain components of our economy, purchasing a home, purchasing a car, they now would be given access to that because of what Bernie Sanders is doing. This is remarkable. He has a plan for everything, and I shouldn't say everything because he keeps coming up with new plans every single week, so I don't know what he's going to have next week and the week after, but I mean, he is thinking of things that are not addressed. And this would have a real-world impact on people who are suffering currently. And I want to show you how this impacts at least one person who has medical debt. As journalist Zenny Jardin puts it, I haven't had good credit since cancer. I'd have 800 with this. When I was diagnosed with a deadly disease, so was my credit score. The cancer debt collectors were calling me for years. Years. It's in progress still, but the financial devastation from medical debt ruined me. I am as afraid of medical debt as I am a cancer recurrence. It was a traumatizing and demoralizing experience and still isn't fully cleaned up. Amazing to see this issue out in the open now. So there you have it. The reason why these issues are in the open, the reason why they are finally being discussed, is because unlike most politicians, Bernie Sanders listens to people. He doesn't talk, he listens. They tell him the problems, and he responds accordingly with a policy solution. This is exactly what I expect from public servants. This is exactly what I would hope for in a president who is driven by and dedicated to improving the lives of people who are less fortunate, who have been bogged down by medical debt, which affects their credit score, and that's something they can't control. If you are born and you are black or brown, you shouldn't just automatically be disadvantaged. I mean, that's absurd. So this evens the playing field, at least with regard to credit reporting, and this is a game changer. So Bernie Sanders is once again proving he is the one with a plan for everything, and that he's doing a fantastic job coming up with new solutions to problems people in this country haven't even heard of yet. We all have our own issues, but what Bernie Sanders is doing is he's bringing the struggles of everyday Americans to a national stage, and this is incredibly important.